Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought we would talk a little bit about my daughter. As some of you know, in my channel update that I posted about a couple of months ago, I said that I would like to start talking about being a father, parenting, some of the things that we've done as parents, share some milestones, and sort of give the dad's perspective on some of these things. So I thought today we'd do a little story and talk about my daughter Aurora, who's now turned 4 months old. So, I mean, they grow so quickly. I can't believe how much she's learned, how she's changed in those 4 months. It's unbelievable. But I thought, let's talk a little bit about, how we found things out and what we did to prepare and of course the delivery. So, a year ago today, so when this video launches, a year ago today, we found out that we were pregnant. My wife and I were obviously exceedingly happy. We were excited. My wife took lots of pregnancy tests just to be sure. And we were really, really excited. I remember how excited we were. It was that day when we found out that we were pregnant, we went down to Build-A-Bear and built our future child a bear to commemorate the occasion, to say, you know what, when we found out we were having you, we went out right away and celebrated, and we bought this stuffed bear for you. And it's quite funny. This bear is a Beauty and the Beast, so it's the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, and it's got the lab coat, and we built that and designed that for our daughter, as we found out later on. But what comes with the happiness and joy also was some scare, because you have to tell your family, it's just not us. So we knew that some of our family members might be a little apprehensive about us having children, being that I'm still completing my PhD, almost done though, but and my wife had just finished her undergrad. The financials aren't that great, even though I do work. So there was some concern there. There was concern about, are you ready to take that responsibility? And now, actually being parents, I understand why there was some question about that responsibility, because it is tough being a parent. There is a lot of responsibility. That little one relies solely on you. So there's a lot of things that you got to take in consideration. So when we told my family was, of course, apprehensive. They were a little bit concerned, but happy. My wife's family, they were mixed reactions as well. Some were exceedingly happy, some so happy that it was amazing, like they were crying on the phone. It was wonderful. But then there were some that were more concerned, shocked. Obviously, a lot of people were shocked. And there was a lot of sometimes a little hard feelings. People, when they get upset and shocked, they might say some things, and unfortunately that stuff kind of happens. So for us though, we stayed positive and we were really excited. And my wife just took off on, researching what are the stuff you need for children, what do we have to buy, looking up various types of baby boxes, like there's some of you might have heard of Loot Crate, but there is stuff for babies. So there's like little baby crates and things that you can get brought into the house that have shirts and so on from all different kinds of companies, and other baby products that come with it. And she was all excited about it, and she wanted to do this science camps and looking up science stuff, because we're both scientists. So we got really into it, and of course books and looking things up online and YouTube. So we got 100% baby fever. Both of us did. And right away, we got a pregnancy book. And the pregnancy book helped a lot. And in this book, it was discussing, from the Mayo Clinic, was discussing about, the ins and outs of pregnancy, things that are going to happen to your body, talk about mood, things with your partner, how things might change. And we found it quite helpful. Because your body is changing, when you're pregnant, and as the support person for my wife, it was good to know some of the things that she's going through, some tips and tricks on how to help her, make things easier for her. So we found that very helpful. And we'd go through all the weeks, because it would say, week 10 to 14, this is what you should expect to happen and what you should be seeing. And they broke things down into trimesters. It was really, really nice, and we really enjoyed it. We also at that time got really involved with looking at brain development books, so neuroscience, things that we can do to help our baby advance as far as she can. We also began to think about what can we do besides doing these reading of these various books. What can we do to help hone our skills as parents? So my wife immediately wanted to do things like prenatal classes, parenting classes, and we did those. I would say, I'll make a video on them. Are they worth it or are they not, in my opinion? And we did them. My wife and I enjoyed them. We found that there were some very informative things there. So we did those. Throughout the entire pregnancy, my wife, unfortunately, got a lot of morning sickness, and that stayed right through the entire pregnancy. She could not eat anything. She could barely go out anywhere because she got so nauseous that she would, unfortunately throw up. She lost a lot of weight in the first part of the pregnancy, but then stabilized. Even with the anti-nausea medication that she was on, it still oftentimes wasn't enough, so we were often very cautious. So as a support person, that's our job, is to comfort them. And nothing's worse because you don't feel well. You feel embarrassed that you're going to get sick, and you're always nervous about food and certain smells and so on. So there's that embarrassment and that sort of social awkwardness that comes with that, and my wife was quite upset by that. So as a support person, I think it's exceedingly important to have compassion and empathy, right? We've all been there. We've all thrown up. We all know how awful you feel. Imagine that 5 times a day, and it's out of your control. Something, shellfish or something comes by, and it just sets you off, and you get very nauseous and then throw up. We have to be there to help them, and I find that that's something that was lacking in a lot of these courses that we took. The Mayo Clinic offered a lot of good tips in their book, so that was quite nice to see. So as a support person, we got to be there to help them, and so I think that's very important. That's the biggest tip I can put out there for the support person, for the pregnant individual, is you must have compassion, be there, support them, right? Tell them it's going to be okay. We all throw up. Countless times I would say, don't worry, it's fine. Just support them. Help them with the aches and pains. Make bland foods, as I would often do. Get them salty things. Pineapple. Somebody said pineapple worked. Watermelon. So I'd go out and cut them up and try to help with that, to get at least some nourishment and calories into my wife. But yeah, don't ridicule. Don't make fun. Be there to help. That's the biggest thing I can do. And whatever they say it in an openly positive, supporting way, right? Their hormones are changing, right? There's a whole change of physiology and metabolism and biochemistry. So please remember all that's happening, right? They're changing. They're growing a baby. It's not easy. And we have to be more understanding, more so than normal, to be there and to support them. So that was something that I think is a big tip that I can put out there, and I might talk about the strategies later on in another video. But for the whole pregnancy, besides my wife having that issue, our daughter grew wonderfully. She was doing very well. Wonderful stuff. Very active child. Exceedingly so. I remember in the middle of the night, I'd be sitting down, lying beside my wife, and I'd hear, I wouldn't hear it, I'd feel it, quite powerful kick right in my back, and I would laugh and my wife was sleeping, so I'd go and talk to my daughter. And that's one thing that I did a lot. Some people may think it's weird. My wife certainly did. But I would spend hours at night lying beside my wife, and my wife would fall asleep, and I would talk to my wife's belly and talk to my daughter. And again, I'm a scientist. I can't. This is not an experiment, nor would I advise experimenting with your child in this sense. But I think that it helped a lot, because when my daughter was born, she took to me immediately, as well as my wife, and I attribute that, some of that at least, to me talking, and she recognized my voice. She may not recognize my smell, right, because she was inside her mom's womb. She may not recognize what I look like, may not the sensing and so on, but she recognized my voice. So that was very special, especially when she was born. But other than that, though, that's all you can do really to help them grow and develop at that point when they're in utero. So now the fun part, the delivery. So my wife, right at the tail end of her pregnancy, got a little bit of the preeclampsia symptom. So she got a little bit of high blood pressure, a little bit of pain, and she was almost full term. She was, I think, a week away from the due date that they had given her. So the doctors said, you know what, let's induce you, right? Just on the safe side, we'll induce you, get the baby a week early. So we were all like, oh my goodness, we weren't necessarily ready. And they gave you 24 hours. So we went home, packed a bag, got everything. We already had the bag packed anyways, but, packed the things that you, your phone charger, your cell phone charger, a laptop and things that you keep out. So we packed that up and prepared for the phone call that you get from the mother delivery unit in the hospital. And we got that phone call at 7:45 on December 2nd of 2018. And we drove to the hospital, nervous. Oh my goodness, that was so nerve-wracking. I remember how nerve-wracking it was. There was this excitedness to it as well, that oh my goodness, my life is now actually going to change permanently. And am I ready for a dad? To be a dad? Am I ready to take this responsibility? And it all catches up with you, even though you've seen the entire time watching, the ultrasounds and the baby growing and seeing your wife's stomach expand and feeling the kicks, and that it doesn't dawn on you until it happens. Like, it's happening now, and it becomes kind of surreal. So there was all these mixed emotions, and I was driving to the hospital, and I was driving exceedingly slow because I was worried about, obviously, my wife's being endangered, and my wife didn't want us to go fast anyways. So it was interesting, an interesting bag of emotions. We get in. My wife gets into labor pretty quick. So they induce her. She goes to labor very quickly. Within 6 hours, my daughter was born. And the cool thing about this is that she was born at a time when the shifts were changing. So in hospitals, many doctors and nurses are on 12-hour shifts. And so there's a bit of an awkward time when the shifts are changing, where everybody's switching. And what had happened is of course, my daughter Aurora was born at the switches. So we had one nurse in the room. The other nurses took off. The other doctors were gone. They were switching. Well, my daughter did not want to wait, and she was coming now. And so with the one nurse, I delivered my daughter. I got her all the way out, and it was something that I will always remember. There was such emotion to it, because when it's happening, it's happening now, and they page the doctor, but they can't get there. They got to do it now. It's this sense of like responsibility. I must help. I must do it. And in the moment, I sort of put all my feelings aside and delivered and helped bring my daughter into the world. And once I seen her head and then popping out the shoulders next. I at that moment started to get really upset because I realized, oh my god, I'm holding my daughter and I delivered her, right? And it was at that point that a doctor came in, a resident, and rushed in and helped me pull the rest of her out. I will always remember that experience, and I probably never get that experience again. It was probably like a once in a lifetime event, and I'm so grateful that I got to be able to do that because, right, for me, it became an instant connection, obviously, because I'm delivering this child, and it's not just like for doctors and nurses that do this all the time, especially in the baby ward. But for me though, it was that's my daughter, and I helped, so it was huge for me, and I instantly had that connection with my daughter, and I just had a hard time, believe it or not, giving her up to her mother, but I did right away. Once she was born, maybe gave her to my wife. But it's an experience that I'll always remember, and I think it's very important to those partners that not only do you support your significant other while they're going through the delivery and the pregnancy, but please be involved when it comes to delivery, because many of the partners can cut the umbilical cord. I highly recommend you do it. I also highly recommend that you, if you ever get the chance to help with the delivery and be down and helping, do it, because it is such a bonding moment, and it's something you'll never forget, ever. I will never forget that experience for as long as I live, and it's such a touching moment that sort of, it gives you that instant connection, as I was saying, but it also changes who you are at that moment in time. And this might be for everybody, when they see their child for the first time. It's like everything else disappeared. I didn't care about work, nor school, nor any of the problems, financial problems, or any other issues, the cats that we have at home. Didn't even care. That was gone. And even to this day, although I care about my cats, obviously, there's a whole video on them, but I don't, it changes you. I was so focused on a career, for example, that it sort of changes you a little bit. You're not as focused on it. I'd rather be here, helping my wife, being with the family, than being at work sometimes. Quite often, actually. And I'm not looking forward to going back, because I'll be going back pretty soon. So, it's going to be interesting, because I've grown quite attached to my daughter Aurora, and her and I have a deep bond that's going to be hard. So with that, I'm looking at the time here. It's going on to 19 minutes. So I think I will stop here. And please feel free to share your birth stories or things that you did when you were pregnant, or that you did with your spouse or partner to help them through their pregnancy and delivery. I'd love to hear it. I find these things fascinating. I love stories. I like hearing things. So please feel free to share. I think I'll continue doing these videos about updates, milestones, maybe have my daughter here so you can see her. I want to talk the next couple weeks about, was it worth it, for example, going to these prenatal appointments and parenting classes and things like that from my perspective. So, okay, I think I've taken more than enough of your time, so please take care and have a wonderful day.